didn't have that in mind when I went to push the table. Yor did it! All right, you're back, I'm back. We finished our cooling system last time and this fancy fuel tank, and now it'll start up. The only bad part, it sounds like junk. I said in the last video we were gonna do the exhaust. I didn't acquire our 2-inch bends. I have them now. We're gonna build the exhaust. You're also gonna wanna stay tuned because we did a bunch of other things, some things with 3D printing, and after we're done with the exhaust, I've actually been working on some other things like designing a body, 3D printing some things, so you're gonna wanna stay tuned for the rest of the video. Now with our exhaust, we definitely built the engine mount in the way. We've got some stainless bends here. Try and get around that piece of plate and then out towards the back. Ooh, it's stormy out. I don't really have a system of how I build exhaust. I usually just cut some pieces up and then I have a bunch of little pieces and I can kind of like put them on here, rotate them, and then, you know, it's kind of like adult Legos. That's basically what it is. And then you're just sticking metal together. So you mark everything with a Sharpie. Once it's on the cart, you can see these two have one line right there. We're gonna tackle that one up, put it on the cart, you put the next one on, line that one up, tackle that one, and then you make your way to the back. The plan for the exhaust is to go 2 inches out of this side, 2 inches out of this side, and then dual 2 into 2.5 up and out the back. Probably gonna be a lot of off-camera building because it gets really repetitive and boring, so just enjoy the process. First section of many sections. We're probably gonna put a V-band right here, that way this part of the collector doesn't get like too long, and then the same thing on the other side, and then match those two to that Y piece that we got. That's a V-cow. And fabrication's all fun and games until you realize you have to uninstall and reinstall things about 100 times. So basically, you've got to weld a little bit, you've got to reattach everything back to the chassis to make sure it didn't warp and move too much, and then you build a little bit more, and it keeps going like that until you're finally done. 2 days later. And while we're sitting here talking, make sure you go check out True North Turbos, where you can find all the awesome turbos that you're ever gonna need. There's merch over there, there's blow-off valves, wastegates, all the turbo parts you need. I'm part of another company, so anything you get over there definitely helps the channel. So if you're trying to help the channel and get cool things at the same time, it's like a win-win-win, because everybody wins. The link is down below, blacksheepindustries.ca. Oh my God, beautiful. I bet it sounds better already that the exhaust isn't smashing into the back of this and that it's just coming out of that. Well, on this side anyways. Nice. Side number 2 done. Both our exhaust pipes around this piece, all the way welded up to the V-bands. Now we just gotta go from the V-bands to this piece of pipe right here, and then from that piece of pipe out the back. So we're probably gonna try and center this pipe, get both of those pipes, go each one of those legs, and then get this to go, you know, probably vertical and then out the back. Well, our mount is kind of goofy. It's like a clamp with a piece of flat bar and a piece of welding rod, but it's just a placeholder so that we can kind of start designing where we come out of our V-band here into both sides, and then it doesn't move either, so I'm not worried about trying to hold that in place, building something, and then it being not where I want it to end up. I probably could have 3D printed something that would just attach this bar right here and then attach the pipe, but my 3D printer's been used lots lately. Right now I'm printing a 1/10 scale body for this. So we took the dimensions of this, we got it put into CAD, we got a body built on top of it, thank you Paul, and now I'm printing it out in 1/10 scale so you can see kind of what the body's gonna look like. So you can see on this side, we've gotta go from V-band to the pipe over there. Now I have built this little section of pipe right here, and here's your pro tip. So you're gonna wanna pay attention to this. So instead of putting it in there and tack welding in place just like it is, and then welding everything at the end, what you really need to do is you need to weld this piece individually before you put it in your slip fittings. So like V-bands, this slip fitting right here is bigger than the 2-inch pipe we have right here. And that's because the tube will shrink when you weld it. Roughly 1 millimeter every weld. We've got 1, 2, 3 welds. It's gonna shrink about 3 millimeters. So if you tack welded this piece and this piece, took it off, welded it all up, and then bolted it back on, the outlet right here would not end up where it is currently. It would pull slightly toward this side of the chassis. So you weld this up completely, get that in there, tack weld it, do the other side, weld that side up completely, put it in there, tack weld it, and then pull it off as a unit and do the final couple of welds. Side number 2. This 2-inch stuff is actually a really nice change of pace compared to like the 3.5, 4-inch, 5-inch stuff that we're used to in the automotive stuff. When you think about the time to cut a piece of 4-inch pipe versus the time to cut a 2-inch piece of pipe, it's literally half. And then to weld a 2-inch pipe, I'm not gonna do pi r squared in my head right now, but I'm sure the inches around 2 inches is much less than the inches around 4 inches. Yep, you guessed it, more welding. Assume my position here, take my phone out of my pocket, put it on the table so it can blow up, and then thankfully only 1, 2, 3 welds. Tastes like stainless. You get it? Because like barbells, stainless barbells. Still don't get it? I can't help you. Welds are kind of trash. It'll get the job done. I don't want to lick it now because it'll taste like hot stainless. Maybe I do want to touch it though. Nah. Now that both of these middle sections are welded up, it's just the flanges on both sides that need to be tack welded. We'll get our little beep beep machine in here, buzz some little welds on those. But I didn't realize how convenient this would be right here for adding a turbo to our system. It would just sit right up there, like cut that off right here, make the bend that we want into the turbo flange, and that's it. You can put a V-band turbo flange right there. It's funny, cause like, if only I knew of a place to buy turbos. Nice. Now here's my favorite part. We get to see if we welded something inside the chassis or if it's actually gonna slide out in the area that we built it to slide out of. It's my favorite game. I didn't even catch on to the fact that it might not fit out of here. It was totally Gina, my wife. Hey, look at that. Perfect. Is it weird to be attracted to that? Ooh, through the magic of editing, it's all welded up. Not that I filmed it anyways. No one gets to see me weld 37 different times. Now that the exhaust is built to here, not quite out the back, but it's merged together, we can't not fire it up. We might want a muffler on there. That hurts your ears? We might want a muffler on there. That's, I mean, we're inside the garage as well, so maybe out in the open it's not so loud, but I bet you it sounds real weird. Because straight piped sounds so dumb. I don't like them. So we're probably gonna try and get a muffler on there somehow. Well, I'm not sure how or why. I don't have any 2.5-inch stainless here. Usually I have a little bit of like all the stainless sizes, not 2.5. But we can go from a bend out of this V-band right here. We can expand it to 3 inches, and then we can put a 3-inch muffler on this thing. And I think a muffler is what we're gonna actually need. This is going to add a little bit of weight, obviously, but I think that's going to help quiet it down a little bit. Why don't we just do that? And then I can actually weld to the muffler. And you know what? I think that's gonna be cool as heck. I wanna do that. We're gonna do that. Lego. Lego. Hello. Now we get to do a quick exhaust sound check with our muffler on there. It is like a turbo muffler, so it's just straight through. There's no baffling inside of it. There's just, you know, fiberglass that's probably gonna get blown out at some point. But we're doing this compared to the open pipe, and we have both sound clips. Let's see if it'll start up. That sounds better. Oh yeah! Now I've got one more idea to make this thing cool as heck. Oh yeah, it's gonna work. All right, let me do some cutting. Oh yeah, that's gonna do. It does need a little exhaust hanger somewhere because, you know, It's a little bit bouncy. It's hot too. But that little tip on the end just gives it a little bit of pizzazz.
Ooh, pizzazz.
Now time for a super simple exhaust hanger. Just something to take the weight off the exhaust. You weld that right there, clamp that up, perfect. Look at that, good as solid. That's gonna be perfect. Takes a lot of the weight of the muffler and this whole piece off the headers that we welded to. Now I think what we're gonna do while we're back here is we're gonna build our chain adjusters and we're gonna weld up some of this differential that we didn't weld up last time. But we need the chain adjusters to adjust the chain because every time I start this thing up, people are like, man, that chain is so slack. What are you gonna do about that? Well, I already had a plan, I just didn't tighten it yet, okay? Chill out. We're gonna do that. So these are our rear push rods that we had for the suspension. I'm gonna redo these. I feel like the material was a little bit too thin. This is 065 wall, 3/4 inch. And these just were the push rods here to push on our bell cranks that were there and our shocks that used to be there. Got some different Heim joints to recreate these things out of, and then they will fit inside our 1-inch 120 wall for push rods. So I feel like that's just gonna be a much stronger, better option, especially for the weight of the car. So we'll just cut the tack welds off the end of these ones, shorten these pieces of pipe, and then use these as our adjusters. From this to this. Now technically these adjusters should fit in here. A little bit on the short side, Kyle. Something like that. We're gonna put one on each side just, you know, because we can. And I think it'll be stronger if we can adjust the spool together. All right, weldy boy.
You know what?
I thought about it, I slept on it. I'm just gonna use one. This is gonna provide enough strength and pressure to move the chain forward and backwards to get the slack that we need. But adding two is just unnecessary weight. It doesn't weigh much, maybe like 2-3 pounds at the most, but the cart already is over heavy and we should definitely think about weight back here. So we'll just put one in. Take it all apart just so we can weld it up. I've already started on some of these. I can't really get to the bottom side until I flip the chassis over, so, you know, when we paint it. Now while all of that is cooling down, and I'm cooling down a little bit too because it's hot today, I've been playing around with some 3D printing. And by playing around with 3D printing, I mean I'm going to Fusion 360, designing something, and then printing it out. Kind of like this. So I made a dash mount for myself. Version 1, obviously. This is just PLA, very little infill, like 10%. And then we did the same thing with our steering wheel here. This is just a mock-up. Before anyone says, oh my God, it's not safe, Kyle, oh my God, you're gonna die. I'm gonna make one eventually that has like an aluminum core in it. Right now, this is just mock-up to see how it fits in my hand, see how it fits in the cart, and just like a little bit of inspirational quote at the same time. But we 3D printed that, I made that, that was super fun. The dash is gonna fit up here somewhere. So we're just test fitting some things, seeing how they're gonna work. But I do really enjoy the 3D printing for prototyping stuff. So we do get around to making another front suspension, either this cart or another cart. We can build ourselves some knuckles, 3D print them, bolt the hubs up, bolt the A-arms to them, and just like make sure the geometry and everything's right. So 3D printing is gonna come in handy, and I've been using it more and more and trying to get more familiar with Fusion 360 to make better videos, make better parts, make better cars. There's a lot that I'm trying to fit into this brain, and this brain isn't very big. Now our chain is back on. It is a bit loose, you can tell right there. So if we just tighten this, it's gonna start pulling the diff this way, pulling the sprocket away from the engine basically. And it should start tightening up that chain. There, I just took the pinch bolt out for now, and now I can totally do it by hand, so. There you go, now the chain's much tighter. I've been thinking about what I wanna do with the suspension. For now, I think I'm gonna mount it to that tube over there. And then if we want to, we can build a brace from like here down to here, just to make sure that the pressure from this tube is going into the chassis. But I think we're just gonna keep it simple like this. Both sides, just weld some tabs on the frame. And then we'll just build our push rods and then just let it be for what it is. And if we need to redesign it after, we'll do that after we've tested it. Because my whole game plan right now is to get this thing to a point where we can drive it, test it, figure out what's wrong, and then fix it from there. Because if we just keep like redesigning it as we go, we're just gonna end up with a thing that we've never driven ever. I wanna drive it. So I've been cleaning up a lot of stuff, exhaust is back on, all the axles are bolted back in, putting the shocks in there, we'll put the bars in there and then the rear end will be back up under its own weight again. Okay, do some more welding. Now it's time to rebuild our push rods. They go from these little tabs here up to our bell crank up here. We still have the same 3/8 heim joints, but instead of going to an adapter that goes to a 3/4 inch piece of pipe, these ones go to a 1 inch piece of pipe, 120 wall. Gonna be much stronger. The weight of our cart is really heavy, so we need to compensate by making everything else heavy and stronger. Weird how that works, right? Anyone asking where Gina is? Right here. She's streaming on Twitch. Alien Trash Kitty, link is down below. Oh yeah, I meant to do this without any noises so that it was just super satisfying, but then I talked and ruined it, so. Yeah. Smoking. It ended up too long. Oh, the ride height is down. Oh, it's still too long, even at higher ride height. Well, this is gonna be a fun moment again. Hey! Okay, I'm not gonna get around to making a sway bar right now just because I wanna keep progressing and moving and driving it. We can drive it without a sway bar, it's just not gonna handle as good. But to give you an idea of how to make a sway bar for something like this, I put 2 holes right here in the top of each of these bell cranks. Basically, imagine this pole right here is on bearings. So it'll go down here like this on bearings and it'll pivot back and forth this way. This piece will get welded to that piece, and when this bottom piece pivots, this top piece will pivot. Now if we have one of those on each side, and then a joint that goes from this bell crank right here to this piece that pivots, when this one goes forward, it's gonna try and pull this one, or it's gonna try and push this one forward as this rotates on the bottom. And that's just a simple way to put a small sway bar in the center section of the cart. Traditionally, a sway bar on a car runs from like lower control arm to lower control arm. So you would have to run like a 4-foot piece of bar from that side all the way to the other side. But this is just how you do it with inboard suspension.
Ooh, I haven't told anybody.
And it's not really a secret, but you wanna know what? I've kind of been working my way from the back to the front. So you notice that the back looks a lot more tidy and clean now. It's because, you know, most of the back is finished. So I've been completing things as they go down the chassis line, which means like the next thing I'm gonna complete is gonna be like forward of the engine. Make sense? I want to do the shifter linkage, but then I thought about it and I don't actually have the shifter linkage here, so I can't really do anything with it. But we did install this chain guard piece right here, which holds our slave cylinder. We put a line on our slave cylinder to go to the front. That has to go to our clutch pedal up here. Seems like good a time as any to do that. The other thing I've been contemplating is taking the seat out, building our firewall so that we know where we can mount our seat, and then we can start mounting everything around it. And that might be the idea to do. We're gonna start building our firewall. This is one thing I didn't want to save till the end because then I wouldn't put it in because it'd be like, oh, I just want to drive it real quick. But for safety purposes, with the fuel tank right behind me, I think it's probably important that we get this done now so I can't avoid it later. Well, I didn't have that in mind when I went to push the table. You did it! This is like totally unscripted and I haven't even test fitted this in there, so if it fits, and if it doesn't, then you know it's real world stuff. Basically like that, but it just needs a bend in it now to like cover the fuel tank. Yeah! Look at me go. Acting like I know what I'm doing. How am I gonna bend this now? Who knows, Golden Pony Boy? I have a strong belief that our brake cannot bend this 1/8 piece of aluminum, but we might as well try and break it and try. Like if I could lock this down and manually bend it, because I think I'm stronger than the bender, as much as I think that's a thing. Let me just see what I can jimmy here. There we go, pressure. I knew I was stronger than the brake thing. shit. That red-green guy ain't got shit on me. All right, I figured something out after putting this firewall in here. This seating position is actually a lot better just for the style of the cart because I didn't model it around me lying down. But this little bit of an upright position seems a lot better than the seat that we molded. So I may make a structure out of aluminum here, and then once we have the structure out of aluminum, we can fill it with foam and make a seat insert. But I think that this is gonna be the better seating position. So we're gonna work with this. Technically, this model is built on that frame in CAD. So this, we line the wheels up. Closer, closer, closer. That is potentially what the body can look like. Kind of close. Cool, ain't it? 1/10 scale. Still have to print the wing, still gotta print the front wing. There's a couple little things else I gotta print. The suspension arms aren't anything special, they're just kind of generic little inserts, but look at that, that's so cool. Welded a couple tabs on each side, now we're just gonna mark out the tabs, assuming we can see under there a little bit, which we can't. Drill those out, put some riv nuts in those tabs that we put on the chassis here, and then just bolt down our little firewall. Pop some rivy nuts in here. Couple of tabs at the front. The front side we did a little bit different. We have no access to the bottom without removing this panel. So I went ahead and I just drilled the holes, riv nutted the pieces already, bolted it together, and now we just have to push that down and weld the little piece on the end, and that'll be the front mount. We're not gonna put a mount here or here, but we're gonna put like little weather stripping underneath so it doesn't rattle like that. We're gonna put one here somewhere and then a couple at the top as well, and then just make that super solid, and we'll have like a really strong back to build a seat off of. I'm thinking about like putting cardboard along the side, cardboard along the other side, building it up with cardboard to kind of the shape that I want, foam fill it, carve it out with like a die grinder or something, and then fiberglass that. Because that seat over there just doesn't put us in a great position. It keeps like wanting to slide me forward. Figuring it out, one video at a time, I think, something like that. Cardboard boxes, duct tape, expanding foam. What could go wrong? Basically nothing, because then if it goes wrong, then you just throw it away. We're golden, boy. So I don't even know really what I'm doing, but it kind of exploded out the side. I put this piece here to like collect the back. But now I can fill this up a little bit more, get our shape, and a lot of what I put on the back actually slipped out and like fell on the bottom. So the bottom was supposed to have a big dip in it, but the way it all expanded and fell down, it's actually the highest point now. So we got lots to carve out in the bottom. We're gonna fill the top a little bit more here to get us, you know, more complete seat, and then we can start shaping it. I don't really have a process. In fact, I didn't even think I was gonna start this, but the fact that I didn't like my old seating position means that I wanted to fix this one. All right, where's my can of stuff? See? Great stuff. Just gonna start filling the top a little bit more. Basically let that sit for another couple hours and we'll start shaping it. I feel like I really need to do the seat with the foam so I can learn to shape it and stuff for when we build our body buck for starting to build the body for the cart itself. I'm gonna have to get used to working with fiberglass and shaping foam and stuff, so good time to start right now. Why did that expand so much more than I wanted it to? So I probably could have, you know, did the one where I just sit in it and then I fill the foam around the bag and then the bag makes the shape of me. But I thought I was gonna need something to make the initial shape, if that makes sense. Like I wanted to have like an initial bucket seat shape that was comfortable, then sit in it, then pour it, and then make the seat. So I don't know. We're gonna attack this with the die grinder, the angle grinder, and see if we can make a shape out of something. Well, that's our seat mold that came out of here. That was definitely for sure stuck in there, and it took me a little bit to get out. Turns out a knife can cut through this pretty easy. So we about to do some turkey carving. Now the real reason that I'm trying to make a seat that's kind of universal is so I can make an insert to go in this seat, but then we can pull the insert out because not everybody's butt is shaped like mine. Like mine is like a 3rd degree Karen's butt or something like that. Anyways, not everybody has the same butt, so if I can make this kind of universal, then other people can drive this, and that's, like, I don't want to just experience, I want someone else to experience it too. I put so much work into this damn thing, somebody else better drive it too. Getting closer. I don't think this is working out the way I wanted it to. It fits really good, but I'm not really good at making symmetrical things, so this side is good, this side is, you know, not so good. I think we're back to the drawing board, but I have an idea. It's gonna take a while though. I want a 3D print. So we do have a 3D scanner, you'll see that in the next video. 3D scanner, man, next level stuff. 3D scan this, get the shape of it, put it in Fusion 360, make a seat. We'll have to cut it up in sections and then print it in sections, and it might take a couple days, but we'll have a perfect mold. That's my idea. In hindsight, that was pretty stupid, because like, I can't draw 2 straight lines to save my life. I can't drill 2 straight holes to save my life. So the fact that I thought that I could carve out a seat symmetrical on both sides, I don't even know what I was thinking. On the plus side, there is a 2,500 horsepower Fox body in the garage right now. Pretty cool. All right, so, oh, I got it dirty already. From Revo Point, we have our 3D scanner. It showed up yesterday. I don't know how to use it yet. That's why I'm not opting to use it right now. But this thing will come in handy in the future, for sure. I can see a lot of uses for it already. Dang, we middle class fancy now. Look at that. So you'll see me use this in the next video for sure, because I'm gonna learn how to use it, you know, coming up here shortly. And then we'll put it to use in our next video. We're just gonna take some rough dimensions of the seat, go inside, see what we can do in Fusion 360, see if we can come up with something. Worst case, we go back to our foam seat, we cover that. Worst case, we just drive with no seat. May the odds be ever in your favor. All right, good news. The cart is still in a disaster state. I didn't clean it up at all. I went inside instead and I started building this. This is actually part 1 right here, because, you know, indicated by the 1 arrow thing right there, the one number symbol. Anyways, piece number 1 out of 10 for an actual 3D printed seat. Now, I'm still not good with Fusion 360, so some of my curves and stuff might not be exactly to my body, but I got something I think is gonna be a good base. The seat is something I didn't expect to spend time on because we had that seat, it just didn't fit perfectly. We want this seat now, we're dealing with it. Anyways, that's the video. Peace easy, bye, see you in the next one. Like the video.